All right, we are back for another edition of the Astro Weather, and I am the number one Astro Dad. Um, and David Palmer's an Astro Dad. And what makes me the number one Astro Dad over David Palmer? It's because I've been doing it longer than David. That's why. I am an Astro Dad of 22 years now. And I'm such an Astro Dad that when my son was born, very long ordeal. Very, very long ordeal. If you thought it was long for me, you should have been the other person. So after this long ordeal, I had to go home and take a shower and change my clothes because it was like a couple days, right? And I stopped at this bookstore on the way back, and I got this big fat book on astrology, so I could look up all of his placements. That's how much of an Astro Dad I was. So when I got back to the hospital, I had this book. I think it's called Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Astrology. A lot of people have that book. So I was already reading up on my son's, even though I didn't have a chart for him yet. I was already reading up on the chart. And I got in trouble. My ex-wife she resented that. She said, "You took forever to get back to the hospital." I said, "Well, I had to take a shower and buy this book on astrology." Anyway, that's how much of an Astro Dad I was and am. So, and I feel like I'm an Astro Dad to some of you as well, at least at this advanced age. One of the benefits of being in the body. All right, who do we have here? Let's see. We got Mr. MC Michael Sisternino, the new next pod. Having a little whimsy today with the old thumbnail. Let's see. Have an excellent week, everyone. That's right. By the way, I hope everybody's having a fine day wherever you are, whatever you're doing, since we're not always in the same time zone here. Ms. Behaving too. What's up? There's Amy. Strange where we're living in. Pre-shadow Mercury retrograde always gets me early. There she is, Jackie Delario. Barbara Boots checking in with us. Boots on the ground. The Lunar Duchess. Wait, I'm early? Yeah, you are. What's happening? The weather here has been spectacular. My God, we've been in the 80s. It's been really nice. It's kind of schizophrenic though. We get snow. We get ripping cold. And then we have the 80s. Welcome to Texas. Let's see. Thank you for Sunday's show. I really enjoyed it. Well, you're welcome. I enjoyed doing Sunday's show. It was good for both of us. Debisu is here. So is Esperanza. Vince Tarot, the lovely one. I used to have that bikini swimsuit back in the day. It is the galactic mind of AI searching through all your memories to reanimate them. That's what it comes down to. Ole Kobe, what's happening, Ole? One Bill Smith. Check, Mike. Check. Jazzy Junk. Should the One Piece version of it. A lot of memory mining going on there. There is Zarelith Eternal. Zardoz. I remember the first time I saw Zardoz. I'm like, what the fuck? I don't know what this is, but I like it because it's weird. Let's see. Catherine Rosen, she made it. Hey, what's up, Catherine? Good to see you. Let's see. Nunya, checking in. What's up, Nunya? There he is, Steve. Thor at the door, the lovely and talented one. Zooming her way. Actually, I wouldn't say zooming when it comes to Austin traffic. There's Janine. What's up, Janine? Good to see you. Soul Traveler. What's up, Soul Traveler? Kim Harvey. Oh, my dear Kim Harvey. Good day to you as well. Hi, Jennifer. Miss Nakia is with us. There he is. Mark S. What's going on, Mark S? Great Sunday show. Although my birthday is on August 13th, that eclipse and South Node talk has me a little freaked out. Well, I try not to cast a spell of fear amongst the masses. But yeah, man, this journey through the South Node that I have been through it's been a teacher. I mean, this is really when you're on the front lines of astrology, and I'll give you my philosophy of being an astrologer. Okay, here's my philosophy. My philosophy is that I am aware of transits, and whether they're flashing neon signs that say good luck ahead or flashing neon signs that say caveat emptor, I try to take both of those elements, aspects / transits with a bit of a grain of salt, right? Because if you overly exaggerate what I would call positive aspects, and you can just see them like, oh yeah, this is great, right? I guarantee you that you're going to have to deal with the so-called negative aspects as well. And so what my philosophy is that you note them and then you respond to them in real time so that you are not overly invested in what might be, because both of them might let you down to some degree, depending upon your degree of expectations. So, and I knew, like, you can see, like, I had a quick little text exchange with Janice this morning, and she brought up something that's going on in her life, and we had a little good back and forth there. And you can see these things are coming like, weather fronts coming in. And if you're overly freaked out, and I've had quite a few, if you're overly freaked out by the weather front, then the results of that weather front coming in they're exacerbated. They're actually made worse by one's own fears and one's own apprehensions. It's a force multiplier, right? So there's a kind of a stoic approach to astrology that I think is a reasonable approach when it comes to looking at your own chart. Because you're going to find out when you get there, right? And if the planets are aligned and they are harmonically praising your name in the heavens, then rejoice, so be it, right? And then share your good fortune with others. That's always a good strategy, by the way, when you're going through good transits. It's that just let it flow, right? Now, when you see the storm clouds coming, it's good to understand them and know what's in the air but it's also, I would say, not advisable to live with a cloud over your head every single day waiting for the proverbial astrological shoe to drop. That said, when they do happen, you will know. And it all depends on how one responds to what's going on in one's life. And that's generally the story of life anyway. How do we respond to adversity? Whether it's astrological or otherwise, and you can trace it back at times to being astrological. How do we respond to adversity? Do we respond with dignity and character? Do we respond with courage? Do we avoid becoming victims or playing the victim card? I mean, these are all really important elements. And on the positive side, do we, shrink away from puffing up our chests and feeling that we're invincible during times when the stars are flush, as they say, in our corner? Because if you look at the chart is a wheel, right? And the wheel turns. And sometimes you're on top of the wheel and sometimes you're on the bottom of the wheel. So it's very interesting to understand and take note of where things are, where things are going, because, well, it's who we are as humans. We like to know. We're curious. And at the same time, you can have a challenging aspect. And if you respond to it in a conscious way, conscious fashion, you'll learn a lot, because there's always lessons in there, right? So getting back to Sunday night, I was just going over the South Node in the transit through my 10th house and the transiting Mars conjunction. And hell, I'm even going to have the South Node conjunct Pluto here not too long from now, right? So it's been being a witness to that South Node transit and being a witness to Saturn and Neptune opposing my sun for a while, and being a witness to Saturn, Neptune now squaring Mars. It's like, okay, what do I need to learn from this? How do I grow? How does this impact my life stream? And can I make adjustments in real time accordingly? That's really what, again, I'll use another metaphor. It's like sailing, when you're out in the ocean, you got to be really adept. You got to be able to pull your mast down. You got to go, you got to learn how to tack. When the wind is at your sails, which is really what the positive aspects are, you go wing on wing and you start kicking ass across the ocean. And sailors have encountered just about any type of condition you can on the open seas. And it all depends on how you respond to them and ultimately pilot your craft safely to shore. So I guess long story short is, if you know things are coming, don't get freaked out. If you're adept at looking at your chart or you're reading upcoming transits on astro.com, don't get freaked out. And then if you see, triple sevens, which would be like the jackpot version of transits, give thanks for those and go, man, this could be a really good time. And don't let them go to waste. Don't sit by idly, because, those fortuitous times, they also come to a closure as well. And the whole thing with transits is that the transits are important, but it's what we take away from them ultimately which defines our experience as spirits living in a body. You know, I mean, this is one of the things I shared with Janice this morning, that all of this is a dress rehearsal for when we leave the body in a lot of ways, and astrology does play a role in that. So there you go. Don't get all freaked out, and don't get overly excited about what might be. Find the middle path and deal with it accordingly. And if you're in a zone, if you're in one of those harmonic zones, then make it count. Get as much done as possible, because those come to an end as well. Anyway, there you go. Look at that. Janine getting her business cards passed out. I like that. Let's see. Who else do we have here? Hi, Candace. Good to see you. There he is, Neil Smith. My hammer is working just fine. Thanks for sharing that, Steve. Liddy Lou. What's going on, Liddy Lou? Checking in from McKinney. Scrubbies, boy, am I late. Now you're on time. Perfect timing, Tamara. I noted the exact time of my son's birth and had a chart done immediately. Another Astro dad in the house, Mark S. You Dragon, what's happening? I admin a forensic astrology Facebook group. Folks in there are ripping apart the date stamp time charts. Let's see. Amy Gill said, I studied both my kids' charts. Wonder what the charts show. Let's see. Perspective eyes. What's happening? Oh, you're talking about the kidnap? Oh, that's with Guthrie. It's amazing how these crimes get our attention, doesn't it? Isn't it? If she was just a regular person, nobody would give a shit. Somebody would just go missing. But it just so happens that she's a TV personality and her mother is attached to her. So we're paying attention. And I'm not saying it's a terrible thing, but people go missing all the time. You feel like an astro friend that we can have a great convo with on the couch, says my Venus in Gemini. My Venus in Libra agrees. I'm the astro dad for sure. 6 fingers on Savannah Guthrie. Is that AI or is that real? Let's see. There she is. Janice Phillips. My morning text buddy. Teresa, been awake since 3 a.m. Yow, that's not good. Unless you went to bed at 8 o'clock at night, in which case, not too bad. Let's see. Or Sears circa 1998. I just love going to Sears. I loved going to Sears when I was a kid. Let's see. So above it. What's going on? So above it. La Chica Gitana. Greetings back to you. Let's see. What else do we have? Lamp Chop. I'm here because I'm sick. And this thing called BPPV. Well, Lamp Chop, sending you some good vibes. Some Astro chicken soup. Debisu, that's so nice of you to say. Lena Winkler, she's a little late. You're right on time. So is Sarah E. Caleb. And let's see, Lisa Ann White. We got the law. Janice says, that's how I've always taken the stars as they present themselves. Trees have been stuck into the live feed vortex of the NG tragedy in Tucson for days. Watch out for those. Got a roast cooking. So above it's got a roast and a cooking in this slow cooker. Sounds delish. Let's see what else we have. Lapicius, up since 1:45. It's about the time I was going to bed. Texas time. Let's see who else we have here. Cassandra Lynn. She's in agreement. We got a lot of agreement here. better to prevent diversity best we can and not have so much to contend with later. Pull the weeds while they're sprouts. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, actually. Let's see who else we have here. Anybody else? And boof, hello, and boof. Listen on the run. There you go. He's in a care home now. Yeah. Care homes are good. They're good businesses. There are a lot of people here in Kerrville that have gotten rich off of having multiple care homes. This place is a vortex of recovery centers, and these people have to go somewhere and live after they get out of these recovery centers. So these group homes are off the chain here. What's going on, Jen Blunt Talk? Checking in from Massachusetts. You're up on the e-files. Did you dig into this Guthrie tie-in? Not yet. Not yet, except for the mother was connected to the Clinton Foundation, from what I understand. The Epstein stuff we're going to get into today over on 15. And let me tell you, it is getting macabre. It is getting absolutely macabre. We've gone from mildly entertaining and sordid and entangled to macabre. So we'll be getting into that one today. Let's see. You Dragon, it's Gala. I can tell you have the same thumbnail. I want to sleep an egg sandwich. I could go with that. Who else do we have here? Anybody new? Did I meet anybody? My grandmother bought me a horoscope in 1962 when I was born. Always thought I was a Cancer. Soon found out 25 years ago I'm a Gemini. Well, that's a switch. Let's see. Rada. Hi, Rada. Good to see you. And we got Jam Chloe and we got Christine Mose. Apparently, equity managers are going to destroy everything, even elderly care centers. Man, those equity funds are just fucking, they're like turbo cancer, aren't they? They've absolutely ruined things like hockey leagues because they've bought up all the hockey rinks. In bowling, they've bought up all the bowling alleys. I mean, at some point, everything is just going to be Acme. It'll be one company, Acme. Okay. Let's see, we got to get rid of that. And here we go. There it is. All right. The old chart of the moment there. No, that's not it. Is that it? 8:49 a.m. We're ahead. We're ahead of the time. We can use this. Why not? It's only 20 minutes away. We're in the future, but not so much. Let's see, February 10th, 2026. Yep. Okay, we got the moon in Sagittarius today. No wonder I'm waxing philosophically. It is the moon in Sagittarius, and it is squaring Mercury. Now, this is an angle of hypersensitivity, and don't feel bad about it. I think this is really good, actually. Really, really good. Because we're just going to split this T-square in half. We'll get to the other part of the T-square. Of course, we've got all of these very profound psychic alignments right now. Venus, Pallas, Mercury, True Note, hell, we'll even throw hoary old Saturn at 29 degrees into the mix. But this is really the sweet spot right here. High degree of sensitivity and psychic awareness. And, whenever we have, if you've ever been around anybody that's like really psychic, and I mean, we're all psychic to some degree or another, but then there are people who are really psychic and they can't control it. It's something that comes on, and if you've ever been around any of those people, you know what I'm talking about. They're not average. And this is a series of aspects that would exemplify that. It's like, okay, we're all chronically and collectively attuned right now. And when people have that pure, uncut level of psychic awareness, it gets back to the original sort of spark of today's conversation, which is you can't always shift the tide or the outcome, right? It is what it is, and it is what will be. And there is a psychic awareness around that at times that is not only, what's the word I'm looking for? Chilling in some ways, but also sort of deeply informative and somewhat fatalistic. I mean, this is what happens. There is no differentiator. There is no governor in some ways, and we just become these open channels of whatever the vibrations are that as multidimensional beings, we pick up on. Sometimes this is how dark prophecy is born. If somebody's not there to turn it into a fairy tale, right? When these forces descend upon us, we are in many ways what's the word I'm looking for? Well, I want to use the word disempowered, but I'm going to use the word we are not empowered to make the story better, right? Whenever it is that we have these deep and profound kinds of realizations, or something that is unexplainable, like a dream, like a really, really powerful dream, or something that you just cannot shake. And then in most cases, because we live in the world where we have to be functional, we have to find ways to modulate that. And, it's like, I've got to go to work today. I got to pick up the kids today. I've got these errands to run today, whatever they are, right? And yet these psychic and spiritual forces descend upon us. And this is one of those times. I mean, look at all this. Look at all this Pisces, right? And the moon in Sagittarius, which is in some ways what I was, and this is not bad, right? I mean, this is what I was talking about earlier. It's sort of like taking a more stoic view upon what you believe is about to unfold and coming. And Sagittarius always looks at the glass half full, right? And I think there is some merit to that today. And that doesn't mean that you wipe away your your deeper feelings or perceptions. It feels to me like it brings kind of a sobriety in some ways to today's conditions. Also, that moon is in trine with Neptune and also in trine with Saturn as well. So it is a bit of a balancing force to that T square going on. It's particularly this part of it right here. Um, you guys were bringing up the Savannah. What's her mother's name? Nancy Guthrie? Is that it? I wonder if today will be a breakthrough. Uh, if there's a psychic or psychics working on that case, I'm going to go on the record and say that they're going to have a breakthrough. That somebody is going to pick up on something and might actually lead to this woman's whereabouts or remains. It feels more like remains at this point. But let's hope that that's not necessarily the case. This is a very strange affair. This is one of those days where you hold steady to your faith, right? Your faith that, you know, ultimately things will work out. And, you know, as parents, how many times have you had that conversation with your own children who are in the throes of some crisis that you at one point in time in your life had experienced, generally around a breakup? And your words of wisdom are, guess what? This will pass, things will work out, and you will be back in the game. And like the rest of us masochists, you'll do it all over again. That's kind of the moon today, right? The moon is normally an unsteady, at times, influence, unless it's in, you know, robust Taurus or Spartan Capricorn. But today, the moon is a steadying force. It is an augur of what I would describe as good cheer and good faith and goodwill. So no matter what befalls you today, or what kind of heaviness or doom you might be experiencing, even if that doom is a sort of disembodied existential cloud of anxiety that has blown into your life, right? This moon in Sagittarius is good. It's good because it's a reminder that no matter what happens, right? No matter what happens, things right themselves eventually. And to have faith in that. You go through the storm knowing that you'll get through the storm. Yeah, I think it's a really, really good transit for the day. Yeah, we're not quite in balsamic. We're at just a little bit after waning gibbous. So the moon is beautiful. Waning gibbous is beautiful. Today is all about attitude and adjustment. What's your attitude? And in Sagittarius, what rhymes with attitude? Gratitude. Absolutely. And I like this Moon Uranus opposition as well, because it gives us the ability to flip a script quickly. Right. So the two things can be equally true. You can be sensing the storm clouds on the horizon, and at the same time, you can also be modulating your emotional frequency accordingly. It's an interesting dance, isn't it? Very interesting. And don't get too hung up on the gloomy part because that Uranus in opposition can flip the script and flip the tables really quickly, even though Uranus is out of sign. Uh, Mars, what do we have here? We got the Sun. The Sun is in square with Uranus. That's pretty rebellious. Feels like rebellion is rising again here in the good old USFA, doesn't it? I mean, you've got the ice stuff. You've got these Olympians who have come out and kind of unified against. It's like, please, do you think? Let me ask these people a question. And it's like one of the things that makes America America. I get it. But if you were an Olympic athlete and you were participating in the Olympics for China, not including the American who participates for China, but somebody born in China participating for China, and you spoke out against the government, what do you think would happen? They would pull your ass right off the Olympic team in real time and send you back to China. And while I commend in some ways these athletes who have this big picture, and the big picture is America's better because it's diverse. And we need to stand together in order to make sure that we don't allow the fascist forces of ICE to brutalize and terrorize Americans and the newly arrived Americans at their whim. I kind of get it. But one of the things that they don't understand, and maybe they should preface whatever they say with this statement. First of all, let me say that I feel blessed and fortunate to be an American so that I can have an opinion that in other countries might put me in a much more precarious position. And for that part, I give thanks. And then you go into your anti-ice screed, but nobody ever does it. You ever notice that? Nobody ever does it. They just assume, right, because they're an American, that they can, run the First Amendment, which they can. But it's because we have this First Amendment that allows us to have differing points of view, just as there are people that have points of view that are going to be much more pro remigration. And those people may have some very choice words for them, right? Anyway, to me, I'm just looking at that Sun Uranus square, and I'm just thinking about these Olympic athletes. And there was a time when Olympic athletes were amateurs and they didn't have sponsorship deals. And a lot of times the sponsorship deals now are linked to DEI, and whoever sponsors them will probably encourage them to talk about whatever it is they feel motivated to talk about, right? Oh, that's our guy or that's our girl. Back in the day, before sponsorships were allowed as part of the Olympic experience, and people were amateurs and not professionals, you had to be kind of careful about what you said, right? I mean, you had to be kind of careful about it. You know, your amateur status was dependent upon like the fucking jobs you worked, you know, uh, and if you took a contrarian stance and you went back home to Steamboat Springs or wherever, and the people there were like, "Oh wow, didn't really like what you had to say. Uh, maybe you should take this season off and give yourself some time to reflect upon fill in the blank, right?" And you would think that people who had professional sponsorships would be more at risk, but they're not because they've chosen those people for a reason. Like Lindsey Vaughn, very outspoken. Their sponsors have chosen her for a reason, and they'll stand by her. So, yeah, Sun Uranus square. If you feel a little rebellious today, guess what? That's a-okay. All right, let's get into our star of the day. And we'll do a little banner. Here we go. All right. Our True Hemp Science star of the day is Amber Frey, or Fry, whoever you want to say her name. Of course, this section of noteworthy and notorious characters is brought to you by True Hemp Science, your one-stop shop for all things CBD, whether you want to go to sleep at night or whether you want to add it to your daily dose of vitamins and minerals and supplemental intake. It is a company that I highly recommend. I'm not the only one. Uh, there are a number of you in chat who have experienced the efficacy of these products, and they speak for themselves. So if you want to go to truehempscience.com, check out all their offerings, spend $100 more, type in 15MINS, and you will get a goodie bag on top of your order, and you will be supporting a Main Street business. Lord knows we need to be able to support our friends and family who are really living the American dream, and it is not as easy as it once used to be. TrueHempScience.com, your stop shop for all things CBD. All right, let's talk Amber Frey. You know who she is. She is the notorious Ice Queen who seduced Scott Peterson. Now, Scott Peterson, of course, is still in prison, and he is there for murdering his wife and unborn child, Lacey Peterson, because all of a sudden he didn't want to be married anymore. And hot Amber Frey had lit Scott Peterson's fire. And Amber Frey, how do I describe her profession? She gave massages. She was a professional massage gal. And we could also tack escort onto that job description. And if you look at her chart, she's icy. I mean, this woman is icy. Mercury, Moon, Sun, Pallas, all in Aquarius. All in Aquarius. And she also has this Mars Pluto square. And I mean, she's got Mars on the midheaven. And I think she met Scott Peterson at this golf tournament or something like that. And the Mars Pluto square is indicative of someone, especially with Mars in this position, conjunct the midheaven, who I guess the word I would use would be hypergamous. And I think she was introduced to Scott Peterson by a friend of hers. And I did their charts together a long time ago. And there was definitely some heat in their charts. Like these were two people who were, let's just say, chemically bonded with one another. But that Mars Pluto square is ruthless, absolutely ruthless. And one of the things that kind of dogged her a little bit was that there were photos of her that appeared like around the time of the trial where she was posing nude. I mean, Amber Frey was she was no wallflower. Okay. And there was also this hint that she may have had something to do with the death of Lacey Peterson, meaning that she and Scott Peterson may have had a conversation or two about it. Now, what saves her ass is that she turns on Scott Peterson and becomes an informant. Now, she's Aries rising, and she's going. And look, this is no knock on anybody that's Aries rising, but let's have a conversation about it. You're Aries rising. What do you want? Well, you want what you want, right? It is actualization. It is acting on the will. And then over there, she's got this weird Uranus in the seventh house. Can you see it? It's like it's unaspected. It's like the strangest placement for a planet. And of course, she has a bizarre relationship. And Scott Peterson doesn't even tell her that he's married, at least initially. And eventually, it all comes out. But the degree to which Amber Frey may or may not have been an accomplice to it all is very difficult to determine. And it's that Uranus in the seventh house. And then what do you do? Like, what do you do with your life after Scott Peterson? Like, I don't know I'm sure she was somewhat popular with men post Scott Peterson. I mean, if you like that kind of look, if you've seen her lately, I'm not sure she's aging all that well. But that Uranus is just weird and bizarre, just like it was weird and like Scott Peterson was weird and bizarre in her life. And it's in Scorpio. So what are we talking about? We're talking about, just on a surface level, like sudden death. If I had this person as a client, I'd spend a lot of time talking about this Uranus in their chart. And that's one of those aspects that I'd have to find the right language to articulate what the hell was going on over there. She has this Jupiter square with Neptune as well. She has Jupiter in the 12th house. I mean, my gut feeling, this is just my gut feeling, is that while she was not involved directly in the murder of Lacey Peterson, I think she knew about it. And I think she knew that Scott Peterson was planning it. Now, if you knew something like that, and to me, this is Neptune in the 8th house, right? Which is the house of Scorpio. It's the underworld. And there's that in conjunct with Saturn at the bottom of the chart, which is the law, right? Judgment, law enforcement. There's something, going on here with this chart. So she became an important part of the case after the fact, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, she might have wore a wire or something and wound up getting part of Scott Peterson's confessional. I think that was just to save her own ass. That's what I think. But to me, the pardon the pun here, the killer aspect of the chart is that Sun Pluto trine in square in Libra. Sorry, Mars square Pluto, Mars in Capricorn square Pluto in Libra. And then that bizarre Uranus just hanging out there in space. I have no idea what she's doing today. Also, the other thing about her chart is the lack of Earth. She's got Mars in Capricorn. I mean, it's the highest planet in her chart. So Amber was ambitious in her own way. But my feeling here is that she's probably sexually ambitious, using her energy to get where she wanted to in life. I mean, imagine if she hadn't met Scott Peterson. She still would have used that Mars. It may have been a different man or a different series of men, but she still would have used it. Anyway, I wouldn't say it's a bizarre chart, except for that Uranus is really bizarre. But I also would say that it is a chilly chart. It is definitely a chilly chart with all that Aquarius, and just allowing her to witness. Like, I don't think she witnessed Scott Peterson killing Lacey Peterson. He was on a fishing trip, quote unquote. But she was a witness to what happened as a result of that fishing trip. Man, it's just so weird. And you have to ask yourself this question, right? Like, why didn't Scott Peterson just go to Lacey Peterson and say, look, I know you're pregnant and everything, but I want a divorce. And, I've met another woman, and you're going to think that I'm a heel. And you have every reason to think that. But I cannot justify being in this marriage when I have developed feelings very intensely for another person. And I'll do everything in my power to be a father to our son or daughter or whatever. Right. And he may have to put up with her rage, and her family may come after him. Right. But at the end, and now here's what happens. Like, at the end of the day, it gets messy, and it spoils the pristine nature of their libidinous connection. And that's probably why he didn't do it. But man, that's kind of extreme. That's kind of extreme. Just saying. Amber Frey, your True Hemp Science star of the day. All right, we're out of here. There's a link for 15 minutes, and we'll be in Jeffrey Epstein land, talking about pizza and jerky and grape juice. What the hell is going on there? If you have a stomach for the lurid, please join us. See, Amber Frey, it's a good lean in. It's a good segue to Jeffrey Epstein. All right, Chacharia, take care. You're the best. Wishing each and every one of you great and blessed days and nights. And God bless. Love you all. Bye for now.